What's up? What's up? What's up, everybody? I am Bernard Damon Holcomb, and I am the creator and the host of the Damon Speaks Show. Thank you all so much for coming back week after week and supporting me. I love and so I just love you all. Tonight we have a very, very special guest. I cannot wait to bring her on. We're talking about healing the heart. Now, some people may think that healing the heart just means that you went through a bad breakup or it has to do with romance, but I feel like the heart has more to do with us as people. What's at the base of us? What's at the foundation? What are we holding in our hearts? Are we feeling like we are unworthy? Are we feeling like we don't deserve good things to happen to us, to come to us? Are we afraid? Is there a fear of success? Is there a fear of failure? Whatever it is, all those things are welcome here tonight. And as you tune in, I welcome you to write in the comments, interact with us, ask questions. Let us know if you disagree. We would love to interact with you. So, a few thoughts that I've been having for the week is that, listen, whatever you need, go out and get that thing. There are mental health professionals, there are life coaches, there are relationship coaches, there are financial coaches. If you're having some issues in your life, it doesn't hurt to go and talk to somebody. I know that there can be a lot of shame. I know that there can be a lot of stigma behind talking to someone and letting a professional help guide you through a situation. However, it's better to go talk to that person. It's better to be open to doing that than to destroy yourself and to really not be living your best life, to really not be living the life that is meant for you. There's somebody out there that needs to hear your story. There's somebody out there that only you can touch. There's somebody out there that needs you. So, whatever it is that you have to do, go out, seek that help, and let it change your life. I don't have anything else to say. I just want to get to the show tonight. I think it's going to be a very special show. So, without further ado, please welcome Shirin Eskandani, life coach, everything coach. She's going to tell you exactly what she does.
Hi.
Hi. Welcome to the Damon Speaks Show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really thrilled to be here tonight.
Okay, so tell us, who are you? What do you do?
So I'm Shirin Eskandani. I'm the founder of Wholehearted Coaching. So as you said, I'm a coach. I do transformational coaching. I call my work a little bit of like life alchemy, which is kind of making gold of wherever you're at in life with whatever you've been given, because I believe that we truly can create gold even of our most challenging moments. And COVID this past year has been one challenging moment after another. But there is always a transformation that can happen, no matter how challenging a circumstance may be. So that's, in a very quick nutshell, what I do and who I am.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I'm so glad that you're here. So I usually have a few memes that I like to bring up so that we can talk about them and see how you feel about them.
I love it. I love it. Let's do it.
Okay, so I don't believe in the concept of one best friend. I have different friends who relate to different parts of my life. It's a working system. They are all equally important. What do you think?
I totally agree with this. Yeah, I think when it comes to friendship, friendships are just like every relationship, right? And so some friends come and they go, and some friends are, I have this idea of like, and I don't think it's my idea. I think I read it somewhere where there's like a friendship should be like a mountain. And at the top of the mountain, there's not a lot of space, right? And those are like that core, it could be like two, three, even one person. But then as the mountain goes down, it's like there are more people, but knowing which friends are for what, right? Like some friends are those friends you want to just go out drinking with and like, just have a fun time. Those may not be the friends you want to get in deep discussions with about, healing the heart. And so I think really knowing the purpose in the friendship also really helps. Damon, what do you think?
Listen, this takes a lot of pressure off of me because I have a friend named Charles. I consider him my brother. I've known him since 1998. And for all intents and purposes, he's my best friend. But then I have another friend named Anwar that I've known since 2000 that has really been in the fabric of my life. And
Mm.
part of the reason why I look as good as I do is because he taught me how to like get a real haircut and like wash my face with something other than Noxzema. So he's also a best friend. But then I have my sister, Andi, who lives in DC and is there for me every day. She's also my best friend. So it's hard for me to choose and to feel like there's a hierarchy in my friendships. Like I don't want anyone to feel slighted. Yeah.
I totally agree.
On this, also on the same topic, a friend and I were talking the other day about expectations and relationships. And he was saying, you know, if you are vocal about what you need from a person, from a friend, and they're honest with you and telling you that they're not able to provide that, that he doesn't get angry. He just says, okay, well, I know what I can't come to you for, but whatever it is, whatever's left, I want that. And I still want to be your friend. Do you think that's a healthy way to be?
Oh my gosh, 100%. I'm like, that is a very healthy way to be. I need to do more of that.
Listen.
That that's just like boundaries, and it's beautiful because I think that is the thing. I always say like expectations are kind of what lead to resentment. And resentment, I think, is one of the biggest things that like tears relationships apart. And that resentment can be towards yourself. But to be able to say, this is what I need from to someone that you care about, and them saying, actually, I don't have the bandwidth to do that. I mean, again, talking about COVID, right? Like I have friends who have children and families, like I don't have children, right? And so their bandwidth this past year is not a bandwidth in which I can just call them and be like, oh my God, this happened to me, right? Like, and if they can say to me, I don't have that bandwidth, then I know, okay, like this isn't personal. This isn't me. This is like, I think that's just so important to have that honesty there. But like most of us don't are scared to ask for that or say that or even know that's what we need, right?
Listen, why is communication so hard? I feel like communication could fix a lot of relationships and a lot of relational issues. What is it? What do you think is at play? I mean, I know it's not like an overarching thing, but most of the time, what do you think? Is it fear?
I think with communication, one is just like we've never seen healthy examples of communication. Most of us haven't, you know. I don't think we know how to ask for what we need in a way that feels like really aligned. Like either we're demanding what we need, right? We're like kind of getting angry at someone, this is what I need, or we're kind of like shaming ourselves, like, oh, I shouldn't, or they should know what I need, right?
Why can't they read my mind? You're supposed to
Right.
know that I want you to call, that I want you to send flowers, that I want you to rub my feet when I get in at the end of a long day.
Right, right. That's a really, really tough one. But I actually there's this coach, and she has this like script for when you need to ask for what you need. And she says there's these three steps. She says, first thing, you have to tell the person what this need is going to provide you with, right? So this is going to provide me with connection or feeling safe or feeling seen or loved, right? Because she argues that the people in our lives really want to provide for us because they love us, right? So if you can tell them what it provides you with, they already are invested because they're like, oh, of course I want to make Damon feel loved, right? And then the second thing is you can't just say like, I need for us to communicate more, right? Because my version of communicating and your version of communicating are different. So it's you getting really specific. And I think that's where a lot of us actually don't know what it is that we actually need. Like, I want you to communicate more with me. Well, what does that look like? Right. And so she says, break that down, right? I need you to text me in the morning, right? I need you to, if you can't respond back to me, just let me know, hey, I'm really busy right now. And I'll respond back to you when I can, right? Whatever that is, tell the person exactly what it looks like. And then the last part is there anything I can do to help facilitate that? Is there any, like, if I can say whatever? And like that script, I've used it so many times in my life. Honestly, like, 75% of the time, like it happens, right? It really happens. Someone's like, okay, yeah, okay, I get that makes you feel seen or loved. I'm gonna try to do that. And if I'm not doing it, can you let me know? It's amazing. It's life changing.
Ooh. So it's not. putting the burden only on the other person. It's also taking responsibility and saying, hey, when I get a text from you in the morning, that just makes me feel like I'm going to have the greatest day. Like, I really love you and I really love hearing from you. Instead of that person feeling like, damn, like you want me to text them all the time. Like, why? You know what I'm saying?
It's so different. Like, can you sense how different that is? Like, I would be like, Damon, I'm going to text you every morning. Of course, I want you to feel great every day, right? It's just a different way of communicating.
Ooh, that's good. Ooh, that's very good. Okay. Let's go to the next meme. So, not all relationships will lead to marriage. Some will help you discover new restaurants.
I have gotten some of the best meals of my life from men I did not marry. Okay. So, this is the truth.
Listen, I feel like there are a lot of people that can get so boggled up and bogged down creating a wedding, creating an event instead of creating a relationship, instead of creating a lasting thing. Like a lot of people are out there dating just because they want to get married and they want to wear the white dress or they want to wear the tuxedo instead of really finding a life partner. I think that makes dating hard.
100%. I mean, actually, so the very, very first coach I worked with was a relationship coach because I was like, hot mess McGee, just dating some of the worst, some of the worst. And she said, she's like, if you go on every date with the expectation that this is going to be your husband, this is going to be your forever partner, that's just like way too much expectation. It's like going to every audition, which I know we both have done, going to every audition being like, I got to get this job. This has to be the one. It's like you're putting so much pressure on yourself that it's hard to live up to that. It's hard to perform at the level you want to. It's the same thing with dating. If you put that pressure on it, instead of being open and being like, hey, whatever happens, at least I'll get a good meal out of it. I love, love, love this meme.
And
Love
then you
it.
have fun. And then you're not worried, like, will they text me? Will they not? Do I like them? Do they not? Are they gonna be my husband? What would our kids look like? Like that used to be my like MO, like going around and around and around in my head. And at the end of the day, people feel that energy, boo.
Oh
People
my
can
God,
feel it when
yes.
you're like, "Ugh." You have to be mine, and that is not attractive.
Is not. Is not. No, 100% to everything you said. Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, let's go to the last meme. Be incredibly specific and intentional with your manifestations. You will get exactly what you unintentionally asked for.
Yes, this is very much the truth. This is very, very much the truth. Yeah. I can't agree with this one more.
Listen, because and there were a few other posts by this person. He said, you can say, I just want a new job. Universe, I just want a new job. And then you get a new job, but it's not paying what you want it to pay. You don't feel like you're in your purpose. You don't like, you have to be incredibly specific about what you want. So not only do I want a new job, universe, I want a job that's going to make me feel fulfilled. I want a job where it's going to pay me at least this amount of money. I just want to be able to pay my bills and take care of all the things that, really be intentional about these things.
100%. There's also with manifestation, this distinction that I read from Abraham Hicks that I think is really important is,
Sharon,
when you're
I love me some Abraham Hicks. Okay.
I love that lady. She's just talking on stage to herself. I'm here for it. Okay. I remember actually the first time I listened to them, I actually didn't know for like 2 or 3 months. I was like, I didn't know what it was. And then I was like, and I'm glad I didn't know because if I think I knew, then I'd be like, what is this?
Weird.
But they say, right? They say also with manifestation that everything you want is actually two subjects. It's like what you want and what you don't want. And a lot of the times we think we're focusing what we want, which is like the new job, the new amazing job. But what we're actually focusing on is the fact we don't have a job, or the fact that all the good jobs are taken, or the fact there are no jobs. And so if you're focusing on the fact there are no jobs, you're going to be manifesting no jobs. And that distinction for me was so, so big. And then I was like, oh, I have to be intentional with my thoughts, like not just job, but the job that I desire and how I want to feel at my job and how I want to perform at my job. And that's what I got to focus on, the beautiful desire of it, not the fact that I don't have it, because the more I focus on not having it, the more I keep manifesting not having it. So
Mhm.
that was a big aha moment for me.
I love that. I love also Abraham says, when you know what you don't want, you know what you do want. So that contrast or that thing, like if say we did get the wrong job or the job that we didn't really want to manifest, that helps us sharpen even more what we really do want, and we know how to ask for that now.
Exactly. Yes, I love it. We're already talking about Abraham Hicks, and we're not even 20 minutes in. It's gonna be good.
Okay, so tell me a little bit about your history. Like, I was on your website today and I was like, wait a minute. You were like telling your story about how you got into coaching and you sing opera.
Yeah. So I'll go into a little bit of my history. So I think once you're an opera singer, you're always an opera singer. So there's just that, right? But so my first love was just singing. My first love has always been singing since I was a very little girl. And it was where I felt the most joy. I felt the most myself. I felt the most alive. And I was really lucky. I grew up in a musical family and they really encouraged me to pursue singing. And so I went to undergrad and I pursued a music degree. And I was kind of like I don't want to say I was like the best, but I was one of the very good singers at my school. And that was beautiful and great. But what I realized now was because I was really great, I had never really had to work on what was happening internally. Like I was getting all of my validation and worth from being the best, being perfect, being, right? All that stuff. And so I had all of these kind of what I call hustling for your worth, right?
Woo!
Right. Where you have this perceived lack of worth. And so you make up for it instead of doing the inner healing, you try to make up for it by people pleasing or perfectionism or, whatever that may be for you. And that certainly was me. But because I was so great at what I was doing and I was getting all the validation and accolades and everything, I was like, I wasn't aware of that. Right. I just thought, I'm really good. I feel great. This is awesome. Then I moved to New York to do my master's. And I was like, oh my God, I'm not shit. Everyone here is amazing. And they're hardworking and they're incredibly talented. All those things that I had taken so much pride in that I was like kind of like I am the singular, right? I'd come to New York, everyone is like that. And so all of a sudden I realized, I didn't know this, but like my self-identity and self-worth had been based on being the best, being perfect, being a hard worker. And now here I am in New York and I don't know who I am outside of those things because I'm no longer the best. I'm no longer the hardest working person. And so coming to this city really kind of was like this rude awakening. And instead of doing the inner work, I was like, all right, I'm going to use all of the tools that I'd been given, which was people pleasing and perfectionism and hardworking, to be the best again. And listen, I graduated from school and I was working. Like I was very fortunate. I was working great, wonderful, but I was doing it in such an unkind way. Right. I was doing it in a way where all I focused on was what I wasn't doing well, the jobs I wasn't getting, the place in the aria where I messed up, right? Like I could have had a perfect performance, but I messed up 3 times. And that's all I would think of after, the show. And so this thing that once brought me so much joy was becoming the thing that was giving me the most pain and suffering, right? Like it was my singing. And so that's kind of, I think, one of the toughest things when we pursue our passion and our joy is that if we don't do it with mindful intention, it can be the thing that causes us the most pain. And so then we're losing the thing that was our joy or everything, right? And in the process, being completely miserable. So had this all happen, but I'm still trying to like just get through it because I'm like, that's all I know how to do.
We're supposed to do.
That's what we're supposed to do. And also, I think, we can get into this, but I also think the narrative of being an opera singer, but being an artist in general is like, well, it's just supposed to be hard, right? You're supposed to go on, right? Like, I think that's a narrative that I hate within our industry. And I think it's across the board for artists that like, it's supposed to be tough. Life is difficult, starving artist. Like I just remember so many teachers being like, yeah, I was miserable. I like drank myself to whatever. And like, that was just par for the course. And so if that is the narrative you're taught, then you're like, well, this is normal. This is normal.
If that's the story you're telling yourself every day, you're going to live that out. If we're thinking in terms of like law of attraction, that's what I believe.
Right.
That's what I tell myself. So that's what I'm living. There.
Right. And so my big awakening was I got an offer to sing Mercedes at the Met. Like it was like amazing. Like it was one of those moments where I was like, wait, like not understudy, like not a cover, like and they're like, yes, like this is it. Like I was like, this is my dream role. Like I actually never wanted to sing Carmen. I know people are like, I want to sing Carmen. I'm like, I don't want that much pressure. I just want like Mercedes. Dance moves, hot outfit, that's cool. But I'll never forget that moment because I had dreamed of this moment since I was a little girl, right? Like, and I would think when I get this job, if I ever get this job, it's going to be the most amazing day of my life. And it's going to be like full of so much joy and happiness. And then when I'd moved to New York, I would imagine this day and I would say to myself, if you ever get this job, you'll know you're good enough. You will know that you are a good enough singer. And I got the job, got the contract, and I felt none of those feelings, right? It was just like, oh, I still don't think I'm good enough. I don't believe I deserve this job. I'm not happy. I'm not fulfilled. And this was me manifesting it perfectly, right? Like sometimes you manifest and you're like, oh, but I'm the cover. Oh, but like, I'm the chorus, whatever. Like this was it. There was nothing more perfect than this. And that moment was my wake up moment because I was like, nothing outside of you, Shireen, is ever going to make you feel the way you want to feel. You got to do that yourself for yourself. Right?
Right.
And so that's when I realized I was like, you got to figure out what's going on internally. And I set out, so I had like a year and a half to prepare for the role. And in that year and a half, like, of course I was like, I'm going to do Mercedes. So you're like, okay, I got to learn some like fast notes and stuff. What I did was I worked on my mind and my soul and my spirit for that year and a half.
Okay.
And I just got into mindset and mindfulness. I hired my first coach. I'd always done therapy. I love therapy, but coaching is different. And all of that shifted everything internally so that I say to this day, like my greatest achievement in life isn't singing at the Met, but it was singing at the Met and enjoying every part of that process and being present for every part of that process and being grateful for every part of that process. Because you and I both have colleagues who have sung on that stage. Miserable. And I was like, I want this to feel like what I thought it was going to feel like when I was 10 years old, taking a bow in front of my stuffed animals. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's what I did. That's what I did for myself, Bernard. And so that to me was just like the greatest thing ever. Because that environment is a stressful, hectic, crazy environment. But I've had all the tools for resilience and joy and to just be present, to be able to, if I made a mistake, that's okay. We're going on to the next thing. If something went left, it's okay. I'm gonna go right. Like I was just my best friend, my best advocate. And through that process, I learned how to find my love and joy for singing again, which finding my love and joy for singing, I realized I didn't want to be an opera singer anymore.
Whoa,
right?
Whoa. Now this is earth-shattering stuff right here.
Right.
What?
I always say this to clients. Whenever someone wants to leave their job or change careers or make any shift, I always say we can't do it from a place of anger, from a place of fear. We can't do it from that place because you're not making aligned decisions from there. I want you to find the love, maybe it's self-love, the love for the craft, whatever we're working on. Find the love again, and then you can make a really healthy, aligned decision, right? Because up until that point, I was like, fuck singing. I don't know if I can swear, but you know what I mean?
Fuck shit. I'm so,
but it's like, I'm done with this and whatever. And I had seen colleagues do that, and they'd moved on, but they hadn't moved on. Like they were still in that place of what ifs and still in that place of holding on to something. And I was like, no, I want to get back to the love. And if once I get there, I'm like, I want to do this, I'm going to continue. But if I get there and I'm like, no, this isn't for me, then we'll take that next step. And so I got there and I was like, no, I think I could see the things in the lifestyle that just weren't for me. And so then that's when I decided to become a coach, because I loved working with my coach. I love that process. And so that's how I got certified. And now it's almost been, oh my gosh, almost 5 years of coaching. So yeah.
Oh, what would it be like to find the love and the joy that we have as performers, and go back to our why, and to really be in love with that process, and then find out, oh, this is not what I want to do. This is not what I want to do. There's so much freedom and love even in that. I think that we allow the fear to block us from really getting to a very great place in our lives where we'll be truly happy because of the stories that we tell ourselves, because we've somehow developed this idea that if I'm the best singer, then people will love me. If I'm the best, whatever it is that's external, outside of who we are, that's somehow going to provide us the real validation and affirmation that we need when it's a lie.
Yes, exactly that.
Got it. Got it. So, okay. Ooh. So you've been coaching, and tonight we're talking about healing the heart. And if there's someone that's heartbroken, it doesn't necessarily have to be a relationship, but it could be. Where do you think they should start? Like, let's say they're at ground zero, like rock bottom. Um, what's the first thing that they should maybe do?
My first thing always is feel the feels. Feel the feels, like process it, because I think sometimes we think, like, especially if you've been in the world of self-development and self-growth, you think, oh, okay, well, I should find the lesson in this and I should move on. Or, we've come from backgrounds where we've been told, just buck up, just move on, just deal with it, move on. And I'm like, no, 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 no. You got to feel the feels, because if Joe Dispenza says, he calls emotions are energy in motion. And if that energy is not processed properly, the energy is going to stay with you and it's going to manifest in some really unhealthy ways, right? Towards yourself, towards others, but mostly towards yourself, right? And so feeling the feels is about being in the muck, being in the whatever, allowing yourself to embrace every emotion. And I honestly, like, I don't even see emotions as good and bad. Emotions are just like it's a spectrum. Like, they're all valid, they're all needed, it's all wisdom. Because I think that's something also that scares us. We're like, oh my gosh, I'm too sad, I've been in here like, just feel the feels, allow yourself to be where you are. And then, and this, we all know this instinctually and intuitively, but when you are ready, right, glean the lesson, find the lesson, and take the next step that feels best for you. Because sometimes we end up like staying in the feels, kind of in this like real, like a little bit too long. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, I'm not telling you like move on quickly, but I'm also like, but it may take a year, it may take whatever, but there's like this moment where you're like, okay, now I'm just here because like this actually feels more comfortable to me. This feels more safe to me. Or I've just been doing it for so long that like I don't know any other way to be. Mm-hmm. And that's like when you take that courageous step of being like, okay, I'm ready to take the next step. But always, always, always feel the feels, for sure.
Sharon, you are preaching to us tonight. If you're just tuning in, I am here. This is the Damon Speak Show. We are talking about healing the heart. I am with transformational coach Sharon Eskandani, and she is breaking it down for us tonight. Okay. If you're enjoying the show, please send us a comment, send us a question. We're here for all the things. So, feeling the feels. My best friend Anwar introduced me to Enneagram.
Oh my God, what number are you?
I'm a 7-wing-6.
Okay, 7-wing-6. I'm a 2-wing-3.
Yeah. Listen, something is in that Enneagram. I don't know if it's voodoo, if it's dark side, or what it is.
It's so on point. Especially the parts where you're like, your mom didn't love you. And it's like,
Oh my God.
how'd you know that?
Oh my God. So, okay, so the Enneagram was reading me for Phil. And it was like, as a 7, you love positivity, which is part of how the Damon Speaks show and all things Damon Speaks was born. I'm grateful for that. But it says you tend to spend a bit much time focusing on the positive and rejecting the negative. And then I would get into these times where I would drop to the ground and have to look at my reality and be forced to feel the feels and couldn't get out of bed for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So it said you have to be able to balance the light with the dark. It doesn't mean that you're not a positive person if you're able to process the negativity. So what I've been doing as of late, I would say the last 3 months, is allowing the feelings to come in. If it's the depression, if it's the anxiety, I invite it to sit at the kitchen table. Like, okay, I'm willing to listen. Tell me what I need to do. It could be that I need to set a boundary. It could be that I need to walk away from a relationship. It could be any number of those things. And then once I listen to it, it often gets up and walks out of the room itself. Now, sometimes I have to gently guide it, like, okay, you can go now. But many times I just feel better. And now, when I feel good because I know that I'm not like rejecting the negative. I can accept all the things and feel like, yeah, I'm good.
Oh my God, this is it. Like that's what we all hopefully can learn how to do is like invite those emotions to the kitchen table. In Buddhism, you say invite it for tea. Have a conversation with it because there's wisdom there. There's always wisdom. Like your sadness may be coming because you're not creating boundaries, or your frustration may be coming because you're not, I don't know, taking enough time for yourself, whatever that may be. And sometimes you don't know, but it's just like if there's a child asking for something, if you ignore it or make it feel shamed, it's just going to get louder. It's just going to get more like boisterous, right? Acknowledging that is a huge, huge part of just like feeling more grounded, feeling more present. And I love that you say that because it can be very easy to fall into false positivity, especially if you're invested in self development and self growth. Just be like, okay, like, especially though we're smart, we're like, okay, well, I should be thinking this. I shouldn't be thinking that. So I'm going to just think this, but we're just repressing, we're not really addressing. And so I love that.
In the back, we're doing what?
Repressing instead of addressing.
Pressing instead of a truth.
I love it.
Okay, now I have a question for you.
Yes.
If we're thinking in terms of self-development, if we're thinking in terms of the law of attraction, especially someone like Abraham Hicks, um, it- Abraham talks a lot about feeling good and attracting, if you feel good, you attract good things. So people are afraid to feel the things that don't feel as good. They're afraid to process them because they're afraid that as soon as they do that, they're going to attract the negative. So what would you say to someone to make them feel a little bit more comfortable? Like, no, you need to feel and process the feels first before you get to feeling a little better.
100%. So actually, right now I have a group coaching program, and this month we're looking at manifestation. And I think that this is one of the reasons why a lot of people are actually like don't like or distrust manifestation because they're like, well, wait, I'm supposed to just feel good all the time, or it's just this big misconception that like you are supposed to feel good, and that can't be further from the truth because you will have moments of insecurity and doubt on your way to manifesting things. That's just normal. That's life. And especially if you're manifesting big things, which all of us are, right? We're manifesting things we've never manifested. There's going to be moments of like, is this going to happen? There's going to be moments where you get ghosted. There's going to be moments where you don't get the job. And to what you were saying, right? To repress and just think positive things, you're vibrating, you have that vibration within you, right? The anger or the frustration or the sadness. And so what you have to get comfortable with is, okay, I'm going to feel this. I'm going to feel this. And this isn't taking me further away, right? The universe puts things in your life in order to allow you to grow, and growth comes from difficulty, right? And challenges. Like right now, today's post on my Instagram page was about how flowers teach us that like growth comes from soil. It comes from like manure and composting material,
The shit.
right? Shit. Exactly. I was gonna say shit, but I was like, I don't know if I can say that. So it's getting comfortable with allowing yourself to feel the feels. And then, and Abraham Hicks says this, find the best feeling thought that you have access to, right?
In
They
the
don't say,
moment.
yes, they don't say find the best feeling thought, right? The best one in the world, like I am enough, I am worthy. No, 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 no. If you're feeling like shit, if the best feeling thought is, I accept right now that I am really frustrated, but I am committed to finding my worth in this moment, right?
Mm-hmm.
That is something I work on. Like that's something like I work on with all my clients, working with, like, because I teach manifestation, and I'm like, this isn't about false positivity. This is the real work, right? Of being able to go from like here to like just a little bit higher. And the universe sees that shift, right? Sees that infinitesimal shift. Like we've all had that moment where finally you get out of bed, finally you send the email, and then all of a sudden just like these things start to happen, right? You bump into someone you've been thinking about, or you get that job, and it's just like the universe doesn't care if you're up here all the time. Like it doesn't. It just needs to see that you're like trying. Yeah.
I think the misstep is with the whole false positivity, toxic positivity thing is that we'll be in a really shitty place and then think, okay, but I'm supposed to feel like the best I've ever felt. So then we're trying to feel the best we've ever felt, but the shit is still there. So then we
Yes.
just keep digging ourselves into the same thing where it could be, I think, does Abraham call it like the emotional ladder?
Yes.
So then if it's like, damn, I feel really shitty right now, the next thing could be, I'm fucking angry. And then the next thing could be, oh, I'm just super frustrated. And then, I mean, it's just really like yes, yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes. Yes, yes, yes to everything. It's an emotional ladder, and all you have to do is just get to where you can, just a little bit higher on that ladder. And yeah, if you're at the top and it's false, then as you said, like it's false. It's not real,
Mhm,
right?
mhm.
100%.
So it's okay on this journey to feel a little bad and to allow ourselves to feel the things, but that is ultimately going to get us to the next place
Yes.
that we really want to be in.
Yes, because then as you're saying this, if we have that, what ends up also happening is we feel sad or frustrated or angry, and then we judge ourselves for feeling that. And so then it's like this double thing of like, oh, and then we're like, I shouldn't be doing this. And so yes, just allow yourself to accept, have at the kitchen table, invite to tea, wherever you're at, wherever you're at. You can't trick the universe. It knows. It
It
knows.
always knows. Like we can say things out of our mouths, but it is reacting to how we actually feel.
100%. Yes.
100. So, okay, talk to me a little bit about meditation and how important that might be along this whole journey of healing the heart and getting to a better life.
I mean, listen, meditation for me has been such a game changer. However, I know it's not for everyone. And so, what I sometimes like to just put it under the umbrella of just being mindful. And mindfulness is pretty much just the ability to be present in a moment without judgment, right? Or to be present in the gratitude of what is happening or where you're at. So I think that's what meditation allows us to have, those moments with ourselves. And I think sometimes people think meditation is supposed to be like not thinking, but actually meditation, you can be thinking. It just makes you very aware of how you're thinking. And that's knowledge. And sometimes you'll have moments where there's the quietness, which is really beautiful, because I think in the quietness is where we find our intuition. It's where we find our guidance. It's where we find like who we really are. But also, even in those meditations when you're thinking all the time, you're actually becoming very aware of how you're thinking, which I think is really important, because before I used to meditate, I just thought my thinking was my thinking. And I didn't know that I was like, oh, wait, I'm actually very intentionally thinking certain thoughts, but like it was like unintentionally, intentionally, like I'm like, these are the same scripts again and again and again, And so meditation allowed me to become very clear on a lot of the myths, I call it myths, that I was carrying. And it was in the quiet moments where I found my magic, which was like the truth of who I was. But again, meditation isn't for everyone. So mindfulness, whether that's just like I do this exercise with clients, which is called stop, pause, savor. And I make them set an alarm on their phone for 3 times in a day. And when it goes off, they stop whatever they're doing, they just pause and they just savor the moment. Right? That's the magic. That's mindfulness, right? And so whatever that looks like for someone, but it's a game changer.
It is in the quiet moments that we find our magic. A lot of us are afraid to get quiet because then that imposter syndrome shows up, that saboteur, that inner saboteur shows up and tells us we're
Hmm.
not shit, tells us that we're never going to be shit, that we made a mistake, that everyone knows that we made a mistake, everyone knows how terrible we are, so we're afraid
Hmm.
to get quiet.
Yes.
But we need to be
Yes.
going more toward that quiet place.
Yeah. There's so much wisdom there. And the thing is you're having those thoughts already. Like you're having them in your day to day, you're having them all the time. So if you can meet yourself every day for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, just meet yourself where you're at. That's a gift.
Mm, mm, I love it. And I found that meditation doesn't have to be necessarily one way. A cousin of mine, she's actually coming onto the show next week. She said that she does moving meditations or movement meditations. So she'll just turn on some music and then however her body wants to move, that's how she'll meditate. For me, I used to sit in the corner of my room and just sit in silence. Not have my eyes closed, not anything like that. But then about 5 minutes in, I would just start feeling the power of the universe. I would start feeling my higher
Mm.
power communicating with me. And I was actually starting to get to know myself and to get to what's actually within me.
Yes. I mean, I love that you brought that up because meditation can be done. Thich Nhat Hanh has this. I mean, he's just like you can meditate as you're doing the dishes. You can meditate when you eat. You can meditate when you drink tea, right? Which can be just simply, meditating when you're doing the dishes. What does the water feel like against my hands? What does the soap feel like? What's the sponge like? That's meditation, right? Being present and allowing your mind to actually engage with what's here now instead of being caught up in the past or the future, right?
Hmm.
Just being here now and actually doing meditation that is active is really helpful for someone who at the beginning, because it's like you're like and so do the dishes with tea, like feel the mug, what's the heat like, smell it, what does it feel like going down your body. That's all meditative.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I just got something. It's a feeling, the vibes just come through every once in a while. But I want to ask you because I think this is going to help someone when we're on this journey and we're transforming and we are transitioning into someone new. How do we deal with the people that cannot handle that? Whether it be
Mm.
family members, a lover, a best friend, like we're starting to vibrate on a higher level and they're not coming with us. How do we deal with that?
That's a really good question. And I think that is all too common in this journey of transition. I'm sure you've had it, and I've certainly had it too. All I can say to that is this is your journey, and it's yours to take. And so a lot of the times with transformation, I actually tell people, like, this is one of the reasons why I actually really love to do group coaching, is that it's this beautiful container with like 25 people and y'all are going on the same journey together with the same language, with the same ideas, with the same unpacking. And
Mm,
so you have this really safe space in order to express yourself. And I find that my clients that kind of do the work that way have the most easy transitions
mm,
because they're already within a community, right? So a lot of the times I just say to people who maybe don't have that, um, I always say you kind of have to keep a dream to yourself until you it's like Bambi, like until Bambi knows how to walk, it's kind of like it's going to fall. And so until you find your like deer legs, like your steady legs, do not be telling your business or what you're doing or Abraham Hickin or Joe Dispenza. And don't tell people, just don't, right? Just be the proof, vibrate high, do your thing, be in your world. but I just feel like that's so precious to you. And if you feel like someone is going to try to talk you out of it, or someone's going to have some judgment or shame or whatever, because that's their own perception, that's their own fears that they're projecting onto you. It has nothing to do with you. It actually has everything to do with them. You know what I'm saying?
Ooh.
It's just, it's like that unfortunate thing. And I'm so anti diet culture. But have you noticed if anyone goes on a diet, then everyone around them is trying to force them to not be on the diet
Say
or,
that, say
or right? And it's just they're projecting their stuff onto you. They're like, come on, like just have a drink with us or have a whatever. And like whatever, diet culture is the fucking worst.
worse.
But the worst. But also people get so reactive and talk about transitioning and transformation. Like people that you're shedding a light on where they're not doing the growth, whether they're able to actually name it or not. Right? You're shedding a light on where they like your light is really magnifying and illuminating to them was not working, was not going so well for them, right? So they're going to project that stuff onto you and have so much love and compassion for yourself and then for them,
Mm.
and just do your thing. And I have found though, yes, there have been certain people that are maybe not in my life from before. However, the people in my life who did stick around, and I'm not one, I learned this lesson the hard way. Also, when you start to transform, you just want to tell everyone about it. You're like, oh my God, I'm reading this book, I'm doing this thing. And if they're not ready for it, they're not like, they're going to resent, they're going to resent it. They're not going to like it. And so I learned that the hard way. And I will tell you now, like 5, 6 years on the other side of it, I have friends and family members be like, hey, what did you do? Like, so what are some of the books you read? And like, because you're the proof in the pudding, right? And so they'll come around and they'll ask for the stuff if they want to, but just you live by example, not wanting to live by example, but just living your life. And that's how I feel about it. How do you feel?
Ooh, you just blessed me in so many ways. Antoinette says, yes, people project their fears onto you. Absolutely. So I have been a person that has prided myself. Ooh, here we go. Okay, we're going to get into it. Let's go. On being open and vulnerable and honest. But sometimes that was a way to manipulate people into thinking that I was a nicer person or that I was a better person than I actually was. And so I would tell people things that they didn't need to know.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody needs to know every single part of my journey. I think it's important to have spaces that are safe and relationships and friends that we're safe with, but the acquaintance, the person that's not the best friend, the person that's the be the example of living. That's right. Be the example by living your life. Come on,
Mm-hmm.
Antoinette. Everybody, Antoinette is going to be on the show next week. Make sure to tune in. Um, oh, but that felt so good to know
Mm,
that I can find compassion and love for myself through the transformation, through the journey. And
mm,
by finding compassion for myself and kind of keeping that to myself, I can also find compassion for them.
mm-hmm.
And the fact that my light that's starting to enter through all these broken places and things is going to start to shine so brightly that it may, if I'm talking about it or I'm trying to encourage someone to come on the journey with me, it may start illuminating the dark places within them that they do not want to be illuminated. And so that's why they
Right.
react like that. So we take it personally when
Yes.
they don't like us, or oh, they hate us, or I thought this was my mom, I thought this was my best friend. But they're not reacting to us, they're reacting to
Yes.
what's happening in them.
100%. 100%. Yes.
Got it. Got it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's heavy. It's heavy.
Heavy, but this is so healing. This is so helpful. If you're just tuning in, I am sitting down with transformational coach Shirin Eskandani. We're having a fantastic conversation about healing the heart, law of attraction, all the things. Um, I'm really, really wanting to speak to the people tonight that feel like the reason why people love them is because they're the best husband or boyfriend or opera singer or construction worker or dancer, and not really feeling like they can find that love and that appreciation just because they're them.
Mm,
You know what I'm saying? Just because you're you, you deserve love, you deserve light, you deserve all the things. And you may have to talk to someone. You may have to get a transformational coach like Sharon,
well,
you
thank
know?
you. Yeah, I think I always say this, like, we're not the things that we do. We're never the things that we do. Those are vehicles for us to express who we are, but they're not who we are. And that's really tough to kind of figure out within the world we live in and the society we live in, because we've just so been told like your job is your identity, your role in life is your identity. I am a singer. No, I am a human who really enjoys and loves to sing. But that's not who I am. That's a facet. That's one way for me to express what is most important to me. That's hard. It's hard to realize that.
It's very hard when we've been steeped in a culture that, especially with social media, that celebrates, the million followers, or that celebrates, oh, you're this talented, this or that. It
Hmm.
feels like that's love. It feels like that's affirmation. It feels like that's the real, but it's not the real.
No, it is not the real. Not the real.
Okay. So I want to talk about manifestations, and I want to talk about love. Like, and your
Mm.
story with love, and your story with like this man that you married that's now your husband. Can you just give us a little bit, like, where were you before you started dating him? Tell us the story.
And this is a story. Okay, so get ready, everyone.
Let me put on my seatbelt.
So, my story with relationships and love, I grew up in a city where I was like one of the only kids of color there, immigrant family, first generation. I was not the ideal of beauty there. I see that. Now I know that's like totally dumb, but like really when I was growing up there, I just, no, never been kissed until like my early 20s. And so a lot of my beliefs around like love and relationships was like I wasn't, desirable. I'm never going to find someone, all that stuff, having a lot of insecurity around that. Moved to New York and like I'm like, holy shit, I'm like super attractive. Like what just happened there? Like overnight, you're like, wait, what? I'm hot? What? So like move here, which is great. Outside changes. However, on the inside, I'm still operating from this place of insecurity. And so I am dating and finding myself in these relationships in which I am really living out my stories where, I need too much love. I'm unlovable. Like it's like this thing of I'm too much, I'm not enough, I'm this, I'm that. And like just
Oh God.
right, just trying to fill that worthiness hole in me with a human being and thinking that if they just show me enough validation and love, I'm lovable, I'm worthy, I'm loved, right? And so I was just making terrible, terrible mistakes. And then when I was 30, my sister got married around my early 30s. And my sister got married and I was the maid of honor. It was an amazing wedding. And my auntie came up to me really well meaning. And she was like, well, Sharon, you're next. And like, you can't just be dating for fun anymore. Okay. It's like total auntie wisdom,
Ah,
right? When you're like, "Wah," and like, but if I was in a place that I was like mentally clear and aligned, I would have been like, all right, cool, auntie, whatever. But like, I wasn't. And so that thing just like this switch went off in my head. And I was like, I have to find this person. And so I went on this like rampage of dating just terrible guy after terrible guy. And now I'm going to say this during this time, I actually saw a picture of my husband on Facebook. Yes, it's so weird. So I had started to go to a gym and I became friends with the trainers, and he was friends with one of the trainers and his picture popped up on Facebook. And I was like, "Holy crap, this guy is so attractive." And so I Facebook stalked him and I saw that he was living in Boston. This is when I was I'm still in New York, so I was in New York, and I was like, "Oh, like damn." And I was going to message him and I was like, something inside me was like, well, first of all, what are you going to say to this guy in Boston? You don't know him. And then this other really clear voice, which I only heard once before at the Met. I'll tell you this. So this voice said to me, you're going to meet this guy. Don't worry. You're going to date him. And I heard that other voice after I had an audition at the Met that I botched that said, you're not going to get this job, but you're going to sing at the Met. Like just such clear wisdom. Like that's it. And of course I sang at the Met. And so I heard this voice and then I was like, okay, whatever. And so I forgot about it. I forgot about this guy.
I mean, he
Forgot
was
about this.
attractive and you forgot about him?
I mean, like you live in New York. There's a lot of attractive men here, right? They're not great people, but there's a lot of hot guys, right? So, so I kind of forgot about him and I just like went on this thing of like dating. And so my rock bottom, I was dating this guy for about 5 months. And from day one, something in my intuition was telling me there's something off. But he was a really nice guy, very sweet person, really treated me well. But there was just something off. I couldn't put my finger on it. Then 5 months into our dating, I went to like surprise him at work. I'd never been to his job before. Surprised him at work. He worked at a bar, got there, and I was like, hey, is so-and-so here? And they're like, excuse me, there's like no so-and-so that's ever worked here, ever. And I was like, oh, okay. But like, I didn't even question it because like my intuition was like, yeah, bitch.
Like, girl, I told you.
That's what I've been trying to tell you from day one. I was like, oh. So I call him. I'm like, what is going on? And he confesses that it's not his job and confesses that his job is something not very legal, shall we say. And my rock bottom was that I decided to stay in a relationship with him after that, after I knew the truth. And I was with him for another month. And for me, I mean, anyone can lie to you. People lie, people like whatever. I never like judged myself or thought anything of myself for that. But that month for me where I knew the truth and I decided to stay with him, that was like me being like, okay, what's going on here? And like, I was like, well, he like loves you. You're not going to find someone who loves you this much. It's so hard to date in New York. I don't want to be single enough to start this all over again. And that I was like, okay, girl, you need to fix this. You need to fix this. Oh, thank you. You got a nice community here.
I know. I love you, Mia. Thanks for tuning in, boo boo.
I love it. And so I was like, you need to shift something. Because if you think this is love, if you think this is what you like, this, because again, the narratives I'd seen growing up with like my family, love is hard, you have to settle, love is difficult, right? Like all these things, just like with the artist stuff, like it's hard being art. It's like everything has to be hard, it's a struggle. And I was like, no, I'm not buying this anymore. And so I broke up with him. And that's when I started working with a relationship coach. And I didn't know this, but she was actually teaching us manifestation shit. And manifestation, you're like, oh, great. Like, I'm just going to like put an order to the universe and then I get it. And it's like, actually, no, like you have to like heal your inner child and you have to like do all of that inner work. And so it was like a year-long program in which I completely shifted like just what was going on inside, like really getting in touch with my inner child, figuring out what I wanted, all that stuff. And once I started working with her, I actually started to date like a lot, like better men, just instantaneously, just instantly.
Manifestation. Better.
Yes. Better radio station. And also like just all that stuff. So two things she said to me that really resonated. One was, you are dating people's potential. Right? Like you go there and you're like, you're dating who you think they could be, but it's not the person in front of you.
It's in front of you.
Okay. So she was like, you have to let someone show you who they are, right? Maya Angelou, let them show you who they are. And she said, in order for you not to date people's potential, she like literally told me, you have to date multiple people at the same time. Cause you just like hitch your wagon to one guy.
Excuse me?
And yes, she was like date. And so this was like my job to this day. I will walk out in this city and I will see at least one guy that I went on a date with. Like I was dating, but I was also dating from this, like when you're in a place of like real manifestation, you know, it's certain it's going to come to you. Right. And so the process of doing things is completely different. It's no longer, oh my God, I hope it's this person. Oh my God. It's just like, well, it's not you. So it's going to be the next one. You know?
See ya.
Yes. See ya. You don't take things personally. Of course, there's moments where things hurt. There were some guys I did like more than others, and you have to feel the feels, but like you stop. I stopped taking, if someone ghosted me, it wasn't about me. It was about them. Right. If it didn't work out, I'd be like, thank you, universe, for clearing that person out of my life, because that wasn't the person. So, oh my God, someone even better is coming. Holy crap. Like, that's amazing. Right. Of course, I would feel the feels, but then I was able to tap into these best feeling thoughts. Right. And so I met my husband 3 years after I started working with this woman. So it took some time. Right. It took some time. And Antoinette's like, date multiple people. Yes, Antoinette. Yes.
Ah,
And I met my husband, and what's so interesting was, okay, so what happened was I was on Instagram, and I was like scrolling, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's that guy. And I realized he had moved to New York. And so I yes.
wait. You saw
Yes.
this man, he lived in Boston. You were like, oh, okay, well, okay, whatever. And he moved
4 years later, he had moved to New York. Yes, and he was working at this gym that I was going to, and so I contacted someone I knew at the gym, and she connected us, and we started going out. And the funny thing with my husband is, so this was a really great exercise my coach gave to me. So, sometimes when we think of manifesting love, we get like, I know we say get specific, but sometimes we get like a little too specific, and we're like, they have to have this income, they have to be this tall, and they have to like, and those things are important, but you actually have, the more important thing is, why do you want that thing? Right? Because that quality is a placeholder for why. So like maybe height is about security and safety.
oh,
Maybe the money is about like growth and family, right? So it's like knowing the feeling, the value that is encompassed, because I manifested the guy on the list so many times, Damon, and he was an asshole. Do you know what I'm saying? And when I figured out how I wanted to feel with my partner,
oh,
that was way more important. So the exercise she gave us was, for 30 days, we had to create a future memory with our partner and focus on how it felt to be with them. And we couldn't see, really, she was like, do not look at his face. Like, do not, like, you can be in his presence. You can feel his hand against your hand, whatever you want. Do not make out this man's face. And I'll never forget, because my husband did not tick off, at the time I met him, half the things on like the income list, the height list, the, I don't know, family back, whatever that list was. But I'll never forget, it was like our fourth date, and I felt that feeling, and I was like, holy I've been here before. And it was that feeling I'd been meditating on like 3 years previous, when I started working with a coach, and I was like, this is my person. And yeah, and
were you
my husband,
surprised? Or because
pardon?
were you surprised, or was it because you were doing the manifest? Okay, step back for a second. I love surprises, and I love the fact that when manifesting, you don't necessarily know how it's going to happen. You just know that it will happen. So when it finally does happen, are you surprised, or you're like, oh, I manifested this. This is what I wanted. This is great.
I was surprised, because I believe when you're in a real true place of manifestation, when you're allowing for it to happen, you manifest the unimaginable, right? And so that is going to be always a surprise. It's going to be something better, because we are limited, unfortunately, to what we've seen. And so if I kept manifesting those relationships, yeah, like I could have done that, but like I manifested something beyond that. And so yeah, it was a surprise. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, my husband and I, we started dating, and then we got married like 16 months later. We got engaged 14 months, and then 16 months later, I mean, yeah, in 16 months got married. And he has things I couldn't have written on that list, because I didn't think they were possible in a human, or I didn't even think to ask for those things. And so that's, for me, I say this often, you can either will manifestation to happen, or you can allow it to happen. And I think for a lot of us, especially if we're BIPOC, we have learned how to will anything into existence,
Talk about it. Talk about it.
right? But that process, even though we get things, one, it's exhausting, right? We're often burnt out at the end. And two, we manifest things we think we're supposed to manifest or we should,
Girl.
you know? And so we get there, we get the thing, and we're like, oh, okay, but I don't, this isn't really as fulfilling as I thought it was going to be. Or we get there and we're like, oh my God, I hate this. Like, I hate this person, or I
I don't
hate
want
this.
it. I don't want it.
Right. You're like, but I manifested it, but like you willed it into existence. Whereas, like, when you're allowing things to happen, when you allow manifestation, then the process is so much easier. You're resilient and you manifest things that are like beyond your scope of imagination. And that to me is like, that, like, even my career and my job, like I was like, okay, I want to do this. I kind of had an idea of what it was, but I allowed for a lot of it to happen, and it's beyond what I could have imagined. So I was
So,
like, I can't tell a short story. I'm so sorry, Damon.
no, you are blessing my socks off. I don't even know who's watching tonight, but I know that I'm watching and it's giving me what I need. Very good. Um, so you mean that we don't have to hold on so tightly?
No, we shouldn't.
Mm, okay.
It's hard. It's hard
Why is it
because
so hard to let go?
I mean, listen. I mean, that surrender is like that's the toughest thing of manifestation, I think, right? It's like this idea of I like to call it like set it and forget it, like, you know, the Ronco, like whatever food things, like you just have to be like, this is what I desire, this is what I truly want. And it's not that we forget, but then we know, like, it's okay to want what you want, but don't hold on to it with this like grip, you know? And that's really, really hard. That's the difficult part. Cause like as you said, with manifestation, all you need to know is what you want and why you want it.
Mhm.
Then the how, the where, and the when, those are all up to the universe. And that's really hard. That's really hard to not try to make those things happen. Do you know?
Tell me this. So sometimes there's a strong desire within us. And this is probably something that may cause a bit of that heartbreak and brokenheartedness in ourselves, is that we have this strong desire for something and we look for it, we can't see it, we don't know how it's going to happen. We're holding on with the death grip. How do we start to soften that a little bit so that we can live our lives and be happy and actually get it to come to us or actually allow the manifestation? How do we soften it?
Mm.
Because I'm finding for myself, and Abraham Hicks says this as well, that you cannot just banish the desire. You can't get rid of it. It won't go away. You'll drive yourself crazy. How do we soften?
Well, one, desire is a wonderful thing. And I don't believe that we're given any desire that we're not meant to um dream about. Like I don't know if all our desires are supposed to come true, but I think that everything that's within us is leading us towards something. Right? It's leading us towards something. I don't know what that something is because on the way to partnership, I may also stumble upon friendship and a new job and a what, like, this is all momentum for us. And so, you know, I'm a big believer in dreaming. And I think that as adults, we've forgotten how
Mhm.
expansive and fun and to dream is, right? Because what happens is when you're a kid, you're like, this is fun. I can imagine, I can dream. And then all of a sudden you're like, no, 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 but it has to come true. I won't dream unless we want like a return on our investment, right? And
Mhm.
so we start to get this really, really messed up relationship with dreaming where we've experienced heartbreak, we've been burned by our dreams. You're like, I'm not going to dream anymore. But the purpose of a dream is that it's like a client of mine, I was explaining this to them, and they summed it up so perfectly. They're like, "Oh my gosh, so dreaming is it's not the destination, it's the gas in the car." And I was like, "Yes. That's it. That's it."
I'm literally gagged. Dream, people. Dream. Hope.
It's yes.
Imagine. Oh, you know what?
Dreaming and imagining and desiring is wonderful, but what I do with my clients, because I think like being able to tangibly write down things is helpful, I say to them, write down, think of 3 things that you know that you wanted and that you manifested. That you looking back, you're like, oh my gosh, like yes, your apartment, your job, your like a book, anything, just like anything from small to large. And then write down the steps to which you manifested that thing, right? And then just look at that and be like, would that have been the journey I thought I was supposed to take to get there? Right? It never is. It's never, it's like all like, and it's like all around the place, right? So that's the journey. We're never going to know how we get there until we get there.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Iberia says, yes, dream. Visualizing multiple results that could each fulfill us can help us loosen our attachment to a specific outcome. How
Yes.
often have I been so attached to an outcome that I don't even go after it or I don't even dream about it because I'm like, well, if this one thing doesn't happen specifically this way, I'm not going to be satisfied. So I'm not going to do anything.
Mm,
Whereas if I could soften it a little bit and say, you know what, I'm really going to leave this up to the universe and I'm not going to be attached to a specific outcome, but I know that I'm going to find joy in the journey and I know that this is going to be a great time, then I would just live a happier life, period.
yes. I mean, and that's what manifestation is about. It's the happier life. That's what Abraham Hicks are always talking about, right? Unconditional, unconditional, without the conditions, without the thing. Can you find that place, that vibration without the thing happening yet, without it being here yet? And that's why that's why if you're in a true place of manifestation, it's joy, it's ease, it's abundance, which is kind of what we're all trying to manifest anyways, right?
Right.
And then you get the $1 million whatever bonus or whatever it is. Yes.
Beyond what we could ask for or imagine.
Yes.
Oh, my heart is full. My heart is so full. Do you have any parting words for us? Where can we find you? Where can we interact with you? Are you accepting clients currently? Just tell us all the things.
Thank you so much for letting me talk about all this wonderful stuff with you first. This has just been such a soul nourishing conversation for me as well. So thank you for this beautiful space. I just feel so blessed to be here. Thank you. Thank you. But you can find me on Instagram at Wholehearted Coaching. You can head to my website, wholehearted-coaching.com. Yes, you can book a time with me through my website on my Instagram. This summer, I'm going to be I have an online course, which is called Inner Compass. And once a year, I teach it live. So I'll be teaching it live this summer. And that's a course about how to find your purpose, your passion, and your joy. And so if you're interested in that, you can book a call with me. You can check out on my website. There's a little tab that says Inner Compass. And also I have a podcast too, Wholehearted Coaching, the podcast. Yes.
Oh, this has been so fantastic. Everyone, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being a part of this experience. Thank you for being a part of the Damon Speaks Show family. Tonight, we've talked about healing the heart. We've talked about manifestation. We've talked about separating what we do from who we actually are. And what I want you to know is that all things are possible as you're able to meditate, more than meditate, because meditation has a lot of the different little like, oh, I gotta be like this or I gotta be like this. Mindfulness, just sitting with yourself, allowing yourself to be quiet, because when you're quiet, then that's where you find yourself. That's where you find your true self. That's where you find your magic. That's where you find what makes you you. If you're looking for a relationship, perhaps the reason why you're not able to manifest the love of your life is because you're trying to be someone else. The person that's meant for you cannot find you because you're hiding under this Instagram personality and what they say you should be wearing and how they say you should act and all those things. But if you can get quiet and find your magic, baby, the things that you can have, the places that you can go. What I want you to do this week is to find joy in the journey, wherever you may be, however you may be. Just find a little bit of joy. Go on that emotional ladder. It could start as depression, then it may be a little bit of anxiety, then it's frustration, and then maybe it's a little bit of hopefulness, and then maybe you finally get to being at peace. Reach out to someone like Sharon, a transformational coach, Take advantage of the Damon Speaks show. Go on YouTube, maybe watch some past shows. You have the power in your hands to change your life by tuning in, by meditating, by being mindful, by getting the help that you actually need. You can find us here every Monday night at 8 p.m., youtube.com/Bernard Damon Holcomb. I love you. Thank you guys so much again for tuning in. Sharon, thank you, thank you, thank you. Stick around. I want to thank you backstage. Please give it up for Mr. Cody Godot. He is the man. He is executive producing. We love you, Cody. Thank you so much for all that you do. And we're going to roll these credits. See you next week.